is the continent most shaped by the Bible and by the rejection of the Bible. And this explains so much of what we see in Europe, the paradox of Europe, the rejection of the Bible that has led to the rise of many isms in recent centuries: humanism, rationalism, socialism, communism, nationalism, all sorts of isms to fill the vacuum, which are actually taking something of God's good created order and absolutizing it, making it an idol. This is the vacuum from filling the gap left by rejecting the Bible. Now, we talk very often in YWAM about ending Bible poverty. What we need to end is not just the fact that people get their hands on the book, but we need to understand ourselves how much the Bible has so shaped the worldview and our daily habits and our culture. We need to spend a lot more time looking at how the Bible has shaped all these areas. You can go to an art gallery today and you often won't recognize, you won't understand what you're looking at if you don't have biblical knowledge, at least to the area of the museum that deals with up until the modern age. We live in a secular world, and secularism, unfortunately, is undermining the cultural heritage of Europe by robbing a whole generation of understanding because it thinks that history is not important, and certainly the Bible's not important. Now, if it's true that the Bible has shaped so much of our world, so much of our culture, starting in the West, and yet that's not at all recognized in our education curriculum, is that professionalism, or is that prejudice or ignorance? When we look at science and technology, we were often told, well, you can't be an intelligent scientist and be a believer at the same time. It's incompatible. Well, actually, that just is a statement of ignorance. That doesn't understand history at all. It doesn't understand where the modern scientific revolution came from. Came from out of an understanding after the Reformation that there was a good, loving God who left his fingerprints in this creation, and we could go looking for it, searching God's book of works. We could go on and on about all these areas in which the Bible has shaped our world, things that we simply take for granted. Let's take, we think of human rights, the idea that all men are created equal, which the American founding fathers said, this is self-evident. My Indian friend, Visha Mangalwadi, says, well, wait a minute, who says that that's self-evident? Come to India, nobody believes that. Where did they get that idea from? It wasn't self-evident. That idea came to them through the hundreds of years of biblical influence on the culture out of which the founding fathers came. We could talk about time and history. We could say, well, time is obviously divided up into past, present, and future. Everybody knows that. That's self-evident. No, it's not self-evident. It's self-evident, perhaps, or it seems to be self-evident for those who live in a culture that's been shaped by hundreds of years of biblical influence. But outside of the Bible, the concept of time was more cyclical and going around in cycles and reincarnation and so forth. That was not the Greek understanding of time, or the Roman understanding, or the Babylonian, or the Egyptian understanding, or the African primitive understanding of time. This comes from a book that begins with the words, in the beginning, and ends with the prophetic book about the end, and shows a linear view of history. And even in the secular world, we have a linear understanding. It's because that's been an offspring, you could call it a bastard offspring, of Christianity. In literature, for example, William Shakespeare quotes from 42 of the 66 books of the Bible. I think it's something like 1,350 times. If you take all the biblical references out, you're left with a lot of gaps. And that's why students today of literature, they really just don't understand what they're reading, what all the biblical allusions are, and where they've come from. We're becoming dumbed down through secularism. So that's why it's so important for us as Christians to learn how the Bible has been so influential. And if this is true, then we need to understand that the soul of our Western civilization, the source of inspiration, of values, of our basic concepts about who we are as human beings, has come from this remarkable book that by far has had the most influence in shaping this continent.